Hello everyone, this is Maureen and welcome to My Crochet Story. Today is Saturday, June the 1st, and I am here to get myself back on track with my theme of the Year of the Granny Squares. Now, if you remember quite a while back, I introduced this book to you. It's called The Granny Square FLAIR. It's put out by Shelley Husband. It has 50 fresh modern variations of the classic Granny Square. Now, there will be a link for you down in the description box if you wish to go and purchase this book. I absolutely love the patterns in here. And I have to be quite honest, what attracted me to this book was the colors of the Granny Squares. I love anything done in a classic white, classic black and white, but in particular, I have always been drawn to, I guess you could say, that off-white color. Call it ecru, call it eggshell, call it linen, whatever, but I've always been drawn to that color whenever it, or to an item that's worked up primarily in that color scheme. And so when I saw this on Carrie the Yarny Elephant's live one day, I knew I had to have the book. So anyway, as you know, there are a couple of videos on my channel on which I started working on some of the granny squares in here. And because of just normal life situations, you know, one of them being my computer issues for the last month or so, I had to put this away for a bit, but I'm now back to doing my granny squares. But here in just a few moments, I'm going to tell you that I've kind of taken a different track with this book. So I hope you'll stay around to find out what it is that I've decided to do differently from my original plans. But before I get into sharing with you, let me say thank you to each and every one of you that stop by every time I upload a video, especially if you're interested in granny squares. I love the classic granny square, you know, that I was taught whenever I first learned to crochet, but the granny square really has kind of taken on a life of its own in designs and applications, you know, for the last many years. And it just amazes me how much there is still to do to design with them, and even just the squares themselves. So I do hope that you'll enjoy the Granny Square, the Year of the Granny Square series, and I hope to be able to provide you with enough inspiration to kind of branch out of that classic granny square. Now, as I said, thank you for each and every one of you that are here. If this is your first time here, welcome into you as well. I do hope that you'll sit back and enjoy this little take on what it is I have planned. And all I ask of you is to be sure and hit that like button for me. And if you feel led, leave me a comment as to what you think. Alright, so if you remember when I first got the book, I had a whole bunch of little tabs up here of an idea of only doing particular granny squares, and I kind of had it in my mind, wasn't real certain. I was leaning between a blanket and a cardigan. Well, since I had to put it down for a little bit and work on other things, and like I said, I had computer issues, my whole schedule of things that I have planned just got out of whack. And so I'm trying to get back into my schedule of things that I want to do, and my granny squares are very important to me. So when I got to looking at going back and revisiting and refreshing my ideas of what I wanted to do with the granny squares that I had chosen, folks, I took a little detour. In fact, I have just revamped my whole plan. And let me tell you what this is. This book has in it 50 crochet granny square patterns in both the chart and the written form. Now, I love working off of a chart, but I have to be honest with you. Some of these charts in here, especially the very intricate granny squares, are a little hard even with these specs here for me to see. So I'm really happy that there's also the written instruction as well. But if I had my druthers and could have the charts blown up, I would much rather work off of a chart. Anyhow, neither here nor there. So what I wanted to remind you is that this book has 50 crochet square patterns in both the chart and the written form, as I said. And what I really like is that it gives you some options of little pictures across the bottom of 3 different ways as far as colors are concerned, you know, that you can make it up. There's hints for seamless crochet, you know, how to join them together. It also comes with 11 projects to give you some ideas of what to do with the squares, and it also tells you how to create those projects. So anyway, as I was saying, when I was able to pick this back up and continue on with my original idea, like I said, I took a little turn and I got another idea, folks. What I decided to do is to start at the very beginning and crochet up each square. And I decided to do this for a couple of reasons. One is to see if I like the crocheted pattern myself, because you know, a lot of times the picture, once you make it up, isn't always the same. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that, but sometimes, and I know a lot of this depends on my crochet style, my tension, maybe the size hook, the yarn choice that I make. There's a lot of things that go into that, but I thought I'll just go ahead and start at the very beginning of the book. And besides that, with using the same yarn and using the same hook, I wanted to see if each one of these squares, when they're crocheted up according to the pattern, if they were going to be the same size. Well, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 squares already done. Now, these are not in order because, as I said, I had chosen some in the very beginning, and with going back and now doing these in order, some of these have already been done. But what I wanted to show you is that no, not all the squares are the same size. Now, they are approximate whenever you look at the very beginning. It does not claim that these squares will all, even when they're blocked, will be the same size. So if you're going to use all of the blocks in here, you're going to have to add on some extra rows, you know, maybe single crochets, maybe even go on with a double if there's a huge gap. There's a lot of things that you can do to take care of that. But anyway, what I wanted to, like I said, I have decided that I'm going to start at the beginning of the book, do one of each of them, and then decide what I want to do with it from there. Because, you know, number one, there's lots of techniques, stitches that have been put together to make these beautiful, beautiful squares. And the other thing is, like I said, I think I will get a better idea by looking at the squares after I have crocheted them up to see which ones I want to use and which ones I don't. Now, are the squares that I don't use or don't particularly like once I get them made, is that going to go to waste? No, because if nothing else, I can store them away and have a pattern or have a square sample to look at later on when things change. Or if I know for certain I'm just not going to ever use that square, I can always just rip it out, use the yarn for another project, even for amigurumis. I mean, you know, really there's not always that much. In fact, most of these only take up anywhere from about 38 to, I think the biggest one I've worked on so far has been 48 yards. That'd make a nice section of a scrap blanket. Work it in here, there, and yonder on accessories and things for amigurumis. I mean, the yarn is not going to go to waste. There's lots of things you can do whenever you have to rip out yarn, maybe because you didn't like the pattern or just whatever reason. But as I said, the yarn's not going to go to waste. But I do think that by going this different route for myself, I can decide if I like the granny square after I've made it, and then if I'm going to keep it or not. So let me show you these first 9 that I've already done. Now some of these you've seen from a previous video. That's okay. Some of these are blocked and some of these are not. But I am going to tell you they did not all come out the same size. So, and I'm quite frankly, I didn't tag them as to the name on the granny square, but just know that they are all in the same color, which again is my favorite, that off-white. These are all made with the Crafter's Secret from Hobby Lobby, and the color is called Magnolia. So anyway, so this is the first granny square that I have made. I think it's very pretty. I like the openness of it. It's just made with your traditional granny square pattern, you know, three double crochets and then some chains in between. I really like this one. I really do. I think that this one will make a great pattern on a cardigan. I really do. Whether it's lined or not lined, I think this one will make a great pattern on a cardigan. Now, here's a good example of the fact that not all the squares are the same size. You can see this one here. It's just a little bit bigger. Not by much, maybe just by about a round. But you can definitely see the difference here in these 2 squares. It's using the same hook and the same 4-weight yarn there. Alright, so let's get to this one. Now, many of these that I chose right at first, I was looking at really from many of these that you're going to see, they were more leaning towards a cardigan design. I love this one. This is called the Wonky Hexagon. It's just because it just kind of starts out and it shifts around just a little bit. This one would make a very good granny square for a blanket. And this one uses some spike stitches. This one's called Sundial. Now this is one that has not been blocked yet. Now this one's very open, very lacy. You know, I think if this was done in a possibly a 3-weight and with a smaller hook, maybe even a 2-weight, that the openness and the laciness of this, you put about 6 or 8 of these together, put some fringe on it. I mean, it's the perfect width. This, I think, would make a very pretty scarf. I love this one again. Now this just uses the little I'm looking on the back of it. It looks like it just uses a very small bean stitch, if I remember correctly. And then there is this one. This is the biggest one I have crocheted so far. This would make a really good blanket. And this uses the technique of a lot of front posts here, double crochets. And again, it has not been blocked yet, but you can see that once it gets blocked, it's going to be a really big square. So it wouldn't take many of these to make a big blanket for you. So that's all I have done so far. So I'm almost a 1/5 of the way through. But like I said, I'm going to, I've started at the beginning now. I do have them checked off as I've done them. Now I will say that here in the very beginning, starting over, there are a couple of them that I had to put a question mark on because the written text, number 1, did not match the chart, nor could I come up with the correct number of stitches, you know, from one corner to the next. And I tried playing around with it just a little bit on both of the patterns, but I just put a question mark, marked the row, and decided I will come back to it later. I will have to take, as I was telling someone in Zoom, I'll probably have to take the chart and copy it, blow it up so that I can see it a little bit better, because both of these are very intricate. This is a good one to show. Are very intricate. They've got lots of pattern going on in here, and so and you know, the thing that I really like about this one particular one that she made, each row and each stitch pattern she put in different colors, but still, even with my specs, you know, it's hard for me to see what that pattern is, so I'll have to blow that up. But there's only 2 of them that I've run across so far that just the wording possibly, or I don't know, I just can't. I run up against a row that doesn't seem to be working out for me, and that could just be maybe at the time that I chose to do the square. You know, sometimes we're tired, we're not focusing in, so like I said, I'll probably come back to those a little later. But what I wanted to show you on this one particular square here is that, you know, I told you in the beginning, they show you down here in the bottom different color palettes that you could put together and what they would look like if you did them in you know, a mixture of colors. Now, not all colors are these colors that they used. I mean, she did do some different ones, but like I said, that's what I like about the book. She not only shows you the pattern and a square that gives you the picture of what it should look like. In fact, I'll show you that real quick. There's the square there, done up in a, you know, plain linen type color. And then she goes back on each tile or each granny square to show you what it would look like if you wanted to change it up just a little bit. But like I said, in going back and redoing some of these, I've gotten as far as, let me come up here at the chart and look, because she does have a nice layout of all of the patterns, and especially if you wanted to look and pick and choose. Let me get to that page real quick here. There it is. Right here in the very beginning, she gives you an idea of what each of the squares are going to look like. Just throw it through there for you for a few minutes so you can kind of see. And I think that's always nice too, so that you can, if you wanted to just go through and real quick look at these 2 pages and say, you know what, I think I would like to do this one, and this one, put them together and make a blanket or a cardigan. You can do so. But like I said, I started back at the very beginning, and there are, I'm not going to lie to you, there are a couple that I've already seen here at the beginning that I'm just like, there's no way I would ever use that square. But I'm going to make it anyway, because whether I like the square or not, I want to push myself to do something new. And many of these squares and the patterns are new. So even though I don't like the picture or can look at it and say I would never use that, I shouldn't tell myself not to do it anyway. Now that's how I feel about it, but so I'm going to do all 50 of these squares, and then after that I will continue on and show you what I'm going to do with them, which ones I am going to use and which ones I'm just going to store away, or which ones I may even just rip out. But anyway, I just wanted to come back in and get this Year of the Granny Square series going again, and I decided to pick up this book and let's just work through it together. And like I said, I'll give you my opinion, what I like, what I don't like, and go from there. So I hope that you have made it this way to through the video. If you have, let me just remind you to be sure and leave your little thumbprint. And if you would please, if you're new, take just a few extra moments, go look at everything else on my channel, and hopefully you'll find something, even if it's more than just granny squares, that'll lead you to click that subscribe button and look for the bell with those cute little hugs on the side, because it'll let you know every time I upload some content. So until the next time, next week when we come back together to look at the year of the Granny Squares, let me remind you, please be the light out there in the darkness for someone today, because you never know, could be your light that they need to see. I love you all, and thanks for being here. Bye.